It's a known fact that Chainsaw Man's Tatsuya Fujimoto had some really talented assistants that would go on to make really big names for themselves. In Exhibit A, you got Dan-da-Dan's Yukinobu Tatsu, who can't seem to stop making ball and dick jokes. Or in Exhibit B, you have Hell's Paradise Yuji Kaku, who gave us a depressed emo boy version of Naruto. This transference of skills and telling a crazy ass story also carried over to Fujimoto's old assistant, Tatsuya Endo, who many of you know created the certified hood classic Spy Family. With over 12.5 million copies in circulation, Endo Sensei gave us a crazy and hectic story, but with a huge scoop of wholesomeness to balance everything out. So the man who was forced to create a Twitter to promote his own manga, to a mangaka who actually thinks drawing isn't fun, and finally the very creator of the most elegant and wholesome daughter of all time, today we'll be answering the question, who is Tatsuya Endo? Endo Sensei was born on July 23, 1980 in the Ibaraki prefecture. From an early age, Sensei was destined to become a mangaka. He would watch his older brother obsessing over Jump magazine, and ultimately, his brother and brother's friend started to draw their own manga, which in turn inspired Endo-san to draw his own comics as well. As early as the 3rd grade, he would go on to draw his own version of Dragon Ball, and even had the balls to apply to his favorite mangakas to become their assistant. Sensei went on to hone his mangaka skills and submitted his first work at Jump magazine in the first year of high school. After submitting his second work the following year, he got teamed up with a new Jump editor by the name of Shihei Lin in 2007. This encounter will be very beneficial to Endo-san down the road, but in that moment, Endo-san recalled being very happy to finally team up with someone younger than him. These two actually traveled to New York City for source material for Endo's latest work, Tista, which also took place in the Big Apple. He shared because they didn't have a lot of money and they were still in their 20s, this NYC excursion felt like a trip between two college students, and they really got close during this trip. After these two came back to Japan, Endo Sensei published his work Tista in a 9-chapter 2-volume series from 2007 to 2008. And being the responsible content creator I am, I actually read the entirety of the series and I was absolutely blown away. I was blown away by the quality and the value this 15-year-old story was able to uphold. The very fact that Endo-san was releasing projects this good since 2007 and wasn't recognized until 10 plus years later, man, all I could say is that Sensei deserves every ounce of success he currently has. The reason this story stood out to me is that it showed us a much different side of Endo's manga style. At the baseline level, you do see the same things you would expect from a Spy Family creator. Deep and well thought out characters, extremely clean and sharp illustrations, and badassery all around. But the distinguishing factor with Tista is that it was extremely dark. That is the one thing I noticed with Endo's early works. They were so dark, I would be furiously flipping through the pages looking for Anya's wholesomeness. In the case of Tista, there was no such wholesomeness. And I actually cried because this series went extensively into the topic of child abuse. Something that always brings out the man tears out of me every single time. After Tista, we got Geki Bijin, which ran from May 1st, 2010 to January 4th, 2012 and had 21 chapters. To be honest, it was a lot more lighthearted than Tista, but still rooted in Endo's skill set of detailed plot lines and being able to do an excellent job of expressing his character's emotions. What I really liked about both of these series was that there is always this focus of that parent and child relationship. You also see a lot of that in Spy Family, between Anya and her relation to either Lloyd or Yor. After Sensei wrapped up Geki Bijin in 2012, he would go on to publish one-shot after one-shot. Sadly, he wasn't able to secure a long-standing and commercially successful series. Endo-san actually shared that this was a very low point in his life. He was well into his mid-30s and wasn't able to get any major breakthroughs. Sensei even shared at this point of his life, he was losing his passion for drawing. People around him encouraged him to draw things he liked to spark some inspiration. So he decided to post his pictures on SPYxFAMILY and focus on drawing things he was interested in. However, even though his drawings would get some traction, there was still this lingering emptiness. It seemed at this point, Endo-san was about to quit altogether, but thankfully, an old friend stepped in to throw him a lifeline. Jump editor Shihei Lin gives Endo-san a ring and goes like, "Yo, I know you in between working series, but why don't you take a stab at doing some assistant work? There's this new kid on the block by the name of Tatsuya Fujimoto. He's really young, but the project he's working on, Fire Punch, got some real potential." So the next thing you know, our boy Endo is working under manga prodigy himself, Fujimoto. And really, this experience was a saving grace for him. Endo shared in a recent interview that his time with Fujimoto was stimulating. And it was this very experience that motivated Sensei to fall back in love with manga creation. Seeing that his old friend had regained his fire, editor Shihei Lin comes in clutch again one time. He sits down with Endo to brainstorm a new one-shot idea for Jump Square magazine. Lin suggested to him, instead of going the typical dark mature route you always go to, how about we go for something a little bit more cheerful? I'm sure at that very moment, Endo-sensei had some doubts, but ultimately, he decided to place his trust in Lin's judgment. That is how he got the one-shot called I Spy, which dropped on Feb 2nd, 2018. It followed a Japanese agent named A4, who's practically the Japanese twin brother of Lord Folger. With this story, A4 is trying to save Japan from evil organizations, but somehow finds himself being stalked by the most powerful last bosses of them all, a Japanese high school girl in love. So we got a Fable X Higehiro story of pure chaos and misunderstandings. This story was an instant hit, and now editor Lin was really rolling up his sleeves. He goes up to Endo and tells him, "Fam, we're going to pitch a story to Jump that's an expanded version of I Spy, and we're going to focus on the themes of spies." In addition, Lin banned Endo from drawing anything dark and told him this new story must be bright and cheerful. Again, there was some doubt in Endo's mind, but he decided to go ahead because he liked the themes of spies due to being a military otaku and having a deep fascination in the world of spies during the Cold War era. So these two boys went to work. They would brainstorm until they were exhausted at a local cafe, and these two really went in. They spent grueling hours getting the perfect setting and plot. I mean, this level of detailing just got so ridiculous. It took these two 100 iterations to finally settle on the official title name. Finally, after many weeks of planning, Endo finally finished his pitch project. It was to be named SPYxFAMILY, a title loosely inspired by Hunter x Hunter. This project highlighted Endo-san's skill sets of being a mangaka for the past 11 plus years. It even pulled in inspiration from his past works, such as the main character Anya Folger being based on the main character of his one-shot Rengoku no Ash. When Sensei handed this holy grail to Lin to pitch to the rest of Jump, honestly, the rest was history. Lin shared that the reception of SPYxFAMILY from the editorial department was so good that its serialization was practically decided before the official meeting even took place. SPYxFAMILY was picked up by Shonen Jump Plus, and from there, Endo-san's status shot up to mangaka royalty. This amazing series, who we all love very dearly, went on to become the top 10 most popular manga series in 2019. It won the 4th Tsutaya's Comic Award, which was a popular vote manga award shared with other very highly respected series like Promised Neverland, Blue Period, and Jujutsu Kaisen. As of November 2021, SPYxFAMILY went on to sell 12.5 million copies. And finally, if that wasn't all good enough, on November 1st, 2021, the official anime of SPYxFAMILY was announced. Tatsuya Endo's childhood dream of becoming a famous mangaka became fully realized. Thank you, Endo-sensei, for entertaining millions, and I pray that SPYxFAMILY will have years on years of future success. If you guys enjoyed this Who Is episode, I highly recommend you guys also check out Endo-sensei's master, Tatsuya Fujimoto. that crazy mofo who created Chainsaw Man. I usually close out these videos with a direct quote from the person I'm covering, but in this case, let's get a one-liner from Anya herself.
アーニャピーナッツが好き。
ん